I wonder how many people would be surprised to hear that a couple generations back it was quite common for a father, a son, and a grandson to all grow up in the same town and all do the same kind of work. If they were farmers, they all worked as farmers. If they were drugstore owners, they all worked as drugstore owners, and so forth and so on. That's how that all went. Very recently, more recently, that trend has stopped largely. And I'm not saying that that's necessarily a bad thing. My son does the same sort of work I do at a different company, my older son. But I wanted to talk today, though, on a subject that's sort of related to that I've titled Generations on the Daily Summation from Kurt's Religion and Politics. I'm your host, I'm Kurt, and today is Wednesday, the 8th of September of 2021. Welcome to everyone who's here on Rumble, on the podcast, and on YouTube. Thank you for coming along. Remember that Rumble is my preferred platform, and again, the subject for today is Generations. The thing is that that trend towards people all living in the same place and doing the same thing as a family unit, it has been more harmful than I think a lot of people realize to American society. But in certain senses, I think it's actually a good thing. But the thing that I want to talk about today, we're going to go ahead and get into the notes and discuss. For whatever reason, it seems more recent generations of mankind have decided it was a great idea to more or less completely forego having children. Besides the fact that you aren't going to live forever, there's going to come a point in your life when you're not going to want, nor even necessarily be able, to do the things you had to do when you were younger. Everybody comes to that place in life where they look forward to being able to relax and take it easy. That's not to say we all want to retire necessarily, though I think most of us are forced into that place if we don't choose it at some point. That considered, we slow down and stop being the heavy hitters we were when we were younger. Here's the thing. Yes, the famous here's the thing. When one generation stops doing a particular thing, the next is pretty much forced to step up to the plate. Houses still need built. Farms still need managed, along with all that's needed and wanted there. Cars still need built and repaired. You get the idea. If there's nobody to whom the baton can be passed, how do those jobs get done? To put things simply, as we grow older, it falls on the younger, quote, crop, end of quote, to take on those tasks we once did, but are no longer either willing or, more importantly, able to do. If you think having kids is some kind of burden, just remember, when you're old and doddering about, you put yourself in the place where there was nobody to look after you. Having children may be hard work, but I'd rather deal with that as a younger person than deal with the life that I'll have without them when I'm in my 80s or 90s. Now, you can argue that you may never get to your 80s or 90s, and there's something to that for a lot of people. But for more people every year, every day really, there's a greater chance that you're going to live to be older. And look, you want somebody to work your yard for you? You want somebody to build that shed in the backyard? You want somebody to fix your car? You want a person to build new buildings so that various services and so forth can exist? You want somebody to grow food? You want somebody to work in law? Yeah, I know nobody likes lawyers, but some people do, but lots of people don't like lawyers, and I get that. But you want people to do that. You want people to be doctors. Well, then I guess you better get at procreating, because as far as it goes, if you don't, what's going to happen is there aren't going to be sufficient people to do those jobs. Okay? I'm not telling you you should have a family of 10. I'm not telling you shouldn't either, by the way, because there will be people who have none at all, and you will be sort of filling the gap for those people if you do. I have a brother who has 6 kids. As far, and I'd have to think, I'm pretty sure it's 6. My answer, more power to him. I got no problem with that at all. I have another brother who waited until he was in his 50s to have a daughter. And again, same thing applies. More power to him. I have another brother who has a couple of kids, and I have 4 that I sort of count my own. Right? You could argue that we do a little bit more than cover the family in terms of how many children have been brought into it. But the point of this is, you may think that having children is no big deal and that you don't need to do that. But if you want somebody to look after you when you're older, if you want somebody to take over the jobs that you no longer want to do, okay, if you want somebody to do those jobs that people start getting old enough that they can't do them anymore, then you need to understand and you need to realize that people having kids is the way that happens. Procreation is the way we cause to come into existence people who can do various jobs. Okay? And it's not the only thing that, I'm not sitting here saying, having children is only for filling the gaps. That's not what I'm saying. Actually, having children is a lot of fun a lot of the time. And kids leave you with great memories when you get older. It's amazing, fantastic. Even when they do things that you want to beat them for when they're younger, when they get older, suddenly you realize that those things were maybe not so important as you took them for at the time. And, you look back on those memories with fondness. I had my brother talking at our mother's funeral recently. God rest my mom, right? She was a great lady, by the way, great mother. But talking about that, and he said, yeah, we blew things up, we caught things on fire, we jumped off roofs, we climbed up pine trees, as another brother pointed out, high up trees. We did all of these things that freaked our parents out, or that, thank God, they didn't know about for a large part. But I know, looking back on that, my parents almost certainly did more chuckling than just about anything else. And I learned that my dad would have loved to have had his kids around him when they grew up. And I didn't know that. I'd have never known that. Now, I couldn't really do that because I was never in a place to do that at the time that he was alive, right? I'm still now working to get into a place where I could do something like that if I wanted to. Lots of people can, and that's great, and I think it's a good thing. My point, though, is this. If people decide that having kids is a bad idea, and they decide that they're going to reduce the population of the planet as a result of what they're doing, I get it, but you need to understand that what you're doing is making it so that there will be shortages of various kinds of people. And you'll miss them. I promise you this. When you don't have that house with air conditioning because nobody's building air conditioners. Whatever it happens to be, whatever the many things that might happen, to cause things to not exist that you're looking for, that stove, that refrigerator, whatever, nobody's making them anymore like they used to, or, whatever, or people are working that much harder and more they have less and less time for their kids, which is pretty important. The thing that I'm trying to get across to you at this point is not having kids is a bad idea. Look, even if it's just from the selfish perspective of I'm going to have kids so that when it comes time for somebody to decide who puts me into, where I end up in a nursing home or in somebody's home, those people will care enough to actually take a little bit of time to decide on a reasonable place for me to be. That alone is enough of a reason for you to have kids. Sounds selfish, I know. I know it does. But when you're an adult and it's time for you to have kids, I suggest you look at the same thing. So you're a kid. So you're a kid right now. Great. But guess what? If you don't have kids when you grow up, and I'm not suggesting you just willy-nilly have kids, no decisions about parenting and so forth, no being married or being with a significant other with whom you can have those children. I'm not suggesting that. What I'm saying to you is simple. If you decide that you are going to forego having children, you will cause problems that are immeasurable in your current moment. You won't be able to tell at the moment. You won't see that as a problem. It won't rear its ugly head until you start to turn 45 or 50 or older, and you suddenly realize that there's nobody out there to do the things that need done on lower levels, and either you don't move up or you take on even more responsibility as a result. Okay, so this is basically what I wanted to discuss on the Daily Summation from Kurt's Religion and Politics today. I am your host, as I say. I'm Kurt, and today is Wednesday, the 8th of September of 2021. Tomorrow will be Thursday, the 9th of September of 2021. Thank you for everybody who's been here on Rumble, on the podcast, and on YouTube. Remember that Rumble is my preferred platform. You can give me a plus or a positive Rumble on Rumble. You can give me a minus or a negative Rumble if you choose to do that. I'd like to know why if you do. You can give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down, either one if you want to do that on YouTube. Again, I'd like to know why if you give me a thumbs down, and that leads directly into the next thing that you can do, which is, of course, comment on either Rumble or YouTube if you choose to do so. If you give me a thumbs down or a negative Rumble, I'd really like to know why. If you see something that you think needs discussed or whatever, I'm totally fine with that as well, and I'll do everything that I can to look at whatever you put out there. Obviously, the junk comments I delete, but that's like people trying to advertise on your stuff and so forth. Again, the subject for today has been generations. Tomorrow we're going to talk about the bare minimum. Should you do the bare minimum or should you do more? Hope you're having a good day today. It is that middle of the week day, which came a little faster this week because of the Monday off for a lot of people. Hope things are going well for you, and hopefully we will see you again on Thursday's edition of the Daily Summation from Kurt's Religion and Politics. The speaker on this edition of the Daily Summation is Kurt Schubert. This video was recorded on Wednesday, September 8th of 2021. The Daily Summation is created for Kurt's Religion and Politics. Thanks for watching this edition of the Daily Summation from Kurt's Religion and Politics. I hope you found it entertaining or instructional, or maybe both. If you want to see more from me, you can go to blogs.kpschubert.com. That's blogs.kpschubert.com. I am on Twitter, Parler, and Minds.com. My handle on each of those is @kpschubert. That's @kpschubert. I have a Rumble and a YouTube channel. They are the Kurt's Religion and Politics channels on Rumble and YouTube. I have a Facebook page. The Facebook page is Kurt's Religion and Politics as well. I am on Patreon. If you want to support me, that's one of the better places you can do that. And you will find me at Kurt's Religion and Politics on Patreon. I have a podcast. The podcast is podcasts with an S, .kpschubert.com. That's podcasts.kpschubert.com. I think you should be able to find me with relative ease on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Spotify as well. The best way I find to do that is to look for Kurt's Religion and Politics. You can try to use the Daily Summation. I find that it doesn't work as well as a general rule, but you can always try that. I'm glad to have you aboard today, and hopefully we will see you again tomorrow.